Well, it's nice to speak with you today, John, and I look forward to hearing your views on the topic of transformational leadership. But can you start by providing a brief background of yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. My name is John Brandt. I'm CEO of the MPI Group. We're a global research firm. Before founding this firm about 10 years ago, I was the president and publisher of Chief Executive Magazine, and before that, the publisher and editor-in-chief of IndustryWeek magazine. So long experience working with executives in manufacturing, supply chain, and a variety of other disciplines.
Thank you. Can you talk about what is transformational leadership and who benefits?
Transformational leadership is sort of an umbrella under which we are organizing a lot of our research right now. One of the things we do is we look at companies that outperform others, and we look at an industry and we try to figure out who are the top performers, how are they different from everybody else, and what is it they do differently as firms, and what are the different things that the executives do there. And what we've found is that there are a series of things that seem to be common among executives in different industries, different sectors, that they seem to do differently around innovation, around talent, and around process that allow them to outperform others.
Can you talk about why is this important?
This is incredibly important right now because I think leadership is more difficult than it has been ever before. It's cliche to say we deal with the global economy, et cetera. I think more importantly are the stressors that we've seen after the recent global economic recession and what we've seen with what's going on with employees in terms of distractions electronically and otherwise. It is a more difficult time to manage than ever before. And what we see is that the leaders who are succeeding are fundamentally rethinking how they manage, how they lead, and how they think about the way they deliver value to their customers. And that extends in a lot of different areas in terms of product development, marketing, supply chain, et cetera. They're trying to think through differently, what does it mean, what is customer value? What is value that you provide someone? And we used to think it resided in the product itself. It was the quality of the product, what it did, the features and benefits, might have been, or in a service, the same thing. Increasingly, though, what we're finding in industry after industry is that customers are telling us, look, the quality revolution is over. Quality came, quality won, quality went home. We believe the product you're selling us or the service you're providing is going to do what it says. What we want to know is what you're going to provide beyond that. And what we see in industry after industry is that the smartest leaders are the ones who are thinking, okay, what is it that our customers are really worried about that what we're selling is maybe part of a solution? And what I mean by that is that we're seeing in industry after industry where people who are providing an integrated solution, where they're providing service, product, and then even beyond that, doing some integration between their products, their services, and those of some of their competitors are the ones who seem to be growing fastest and generating the most profits. Because really and truly what customers want is not to buy something from you. What they want to do is they want to cross 3 or 4 things off their to-do list, and they want to sleep better at night. And to the extent that you can think that through and what your offering means to that, that changes things dramatically. Now that has huge implications in terms of how do we innovate. You know, do we focus on just creating a marginal improvement in technology and a product? It has huge implications in who are the types of people that we hire. It has huge implications in terms of what do we think about process? You know, in terms of when we talk about process with a supply chain, with a manufacturing firm, for example, we typically think of a value map where we're just looking at how value is created instead of thinking through it from the customer's point of view and what are the things that are truly important to them.
And how is this done?
It's, you know, I wish I could tell you that there was a scientific map to it. I mean, where we see it done by great leaders at great companies, there is a process to it. There's a plan around it, but that tends to be going back to basics, thinking, okay, what is it that our customers want? And what is it they're actually buying from us? And it typically starts with a lot of market research, going out and figuring out what does a brand mean, does it stand for? For example, a number of years ago, there was a great story about Guinness beer where they started seeing declining sales in their Irish market, and they were wondering why. And when they went out, what they found out was that their market research told them that the Guinness brand did not stand for beer, it stood for community. It stood for bringing the people together. Well, if that's the case, then the way you promote it, the way you build relationships with customers has to be vastly different. So it starts with research. Once it goes beyond that, then you have to get the right people in place. And what we're seeing increasingly is that people are putting together very detailed talent plans, because we all sort of nod toward the fact that the talent we have is the most important differentiator in the marketplace. And yet when you look at most firms, large and small, they do not have detailed plans for these are the types of people we want, these are the skill sets that we need at every level, this is how we attract these people, this is how we bring them on, this is how we onboard them. Because one of the key differentiators we see in industry after industry is how much training, how many hours of training per year do you do per employee. Quality measures, profitability measures, almost all measures seem to move in lockstep with more training hours per year. And it's not just training, it's also onboarding. When you get one of these great people on board, what do you do to make sure they're going to be successful over the first 18 months or so? And it's also making sure that they stay with you. Because one of the things that we're seeing in an economy right now that is heating up in a number of places around the world is that people are feeling some sense of security, freedom, mobility that they didn't have during the downturn. And I'm telling most of the executives that we talk to, work with, that they are at risk for losing their best people right now if they aren't doing creative things to make sure that they are still happy. And that doesn't necessarily mean just making sure they're paid well. I mean, are they challenged? Do they have the support they need? One of the great things that we've seen among a number of companies is so many firms do an exit interview when somebody leaves. What we're seeing is a number of firms now starting to do what they call stay interviews, where they interview the employees they've got right now, especially the really good ones, and say, how are you? What do you feel like? What can we do better? And it extends right then, as I mentioned, into process. How do your customers want to deal with you? And one of the things that we see so much effort going into right now in terms of marketing and branding is social media. I see less effort going into companies thinking, okay, how do we deal with our customers? How do we deal with our employees? And what are some creative ways for us to use social media in that?
Thank you. And did we cover all the points you wanted to make about transformational leadership?
I think so. I think I know since you cover supply chain, I think there's a couple points we can make specifically about supply chain, if you'd like to.
Yes, that would be great.
Okay. Dustin, Dustin, I know you do quite a bit with supply chain. One of the key things that we see going forward here is we see an increasing concern, anxiety among executives at a lot of firms about the risk they face from their supply chains. We're seeing increasing regulatory issues around traceability, around visibility into the supply chain. We see that's not just by legal jurisdictions, but also sort of de facto regulations from customers who are insisting on certain things. And people are concerned about their financial risk, their product liability risk, their, frankly, reputational risk, their moral risk if they've got a supplier who is not treating workers or a surrounding community in the right way. People want to do the right thing. They're getting worried about it. We're actually seeing in the United States, for example, it's almost becoming a little bit like Sarbanes-Oxley, where supply chain managers or senior supply chain officials are feeling like they have to sign off on the integrity of their supply chain. This is an area where, yes, it's because there's so much anxiety here, I see an opportunity in terms of transformational leadership, transformational creation of value, for companies to get out ahead and say, look, we can help you with the supply chain. And by being leaders in that, whether it's in sustainability or in human rights, et cetera, by doing that and being able to sign off on their own supply chains as they work with others and to actually add those best practices to the people that they are working with, there's a huge opportunity to be transformational in this and to get out ahead. I think this is going to be one of the signature issues over the next 4 to 5 years for executives at the world's, frankly, largest firms and moving on down even the mid-sized and even smaller firms as world trade increases. And I think this is a huge anxiety, a huge risk, but a huge opportunity for people to be transformational if they can get ahead of it and make sure they're doing the right things.
And thanks again, John, for sharing these important points and insights regarding transformational leadership.
Terrific. Dustin, thank you so much, and it's been a pleasure being with you.
Thank you.